Hello, everybody. So, sound check. Last time, I guess my voice wasn't very good. Can everybody hear me? Does it sound okay, John? Okay, good. So, お願いします. All right. So, today's discussion is on Sokushin no Gyo, which is Bell Misogi, or as we like to call it, breath mind training. So, many of you know that Maui and Suzuki Sensei was really big on Misogi. So I read a book a long time ago that explained, Misogi came from Toy Sensei's adventures and training at the Ichikukai School of Misogi. So the Ichikukai School was a school founded by Tetsuro Ogura, who was a student of Yamaoka Teshu's. And when Yamaoka Teshu passed away on January 19th, he his students want to honor him. So they developed this training to add to their Zen practice, which was Misogi. And I read a description of this training in a book a long time ago. So I dug the book out, and I want to read you a part of it because it's rather interesting. The book is called Autumn Lightning. The Misogi practice with the Suza bell had been much, much harder at the Ichikukai where he had trained. It's a special session lasting for 3 continuous days, with students getting little sleep and only a few raw vegetables for nutrition. In addition, Misogi had been carried out by the senior members of the dojo, some of whom were assigned to be kagura or assistants. The kagura stalked through the rows of seated bell ringers, batting those who lost the rhythm with lengths of bamboo. At the end of the 3 days, he recalled his back was beaten to a bruised pulp. He could hardly speak beyond a hoarse whisper from the hours of chanting, and he was emotionally drained. But he described the grueling episode as one in which he had experienced a dramatic breakthrough in his own maturation. Too tired to just use muscles, too tired to think to keep rhythm, body finished, then spirit takes over. In Misogi, you find spirit is stronger. It can take you farther than your mind or your body. After Misogi, I saw that just living on the physical level, the mental level, that's no good. Man, woman, we are meant to live on a spiritual level. So that was the description of his time at the Ichikukai School of Misogi. And Suzuki Sensei would comment, talk about it, and he would say, the assistants would walk the rows and slap the back of the people and scream at them and tell them to scream louder. And this was a big part of Toy Sensei's training and breakthrough. And he went there not one time, but like 30, 40 times. And it was like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 continuous days of this. So you can imagine, this happening today. And it still does. If you Google Ichikukai, you can go to their website. And next year is their 100th anniversary of training. And there are people that have gone there. I think Nonaka Sensei went, Kashiwaya Sensei went, a few other folks that are still around had attended. I was listening to a podcast on martial arts, and I knew the guy. He went to headquarters. He studied at headquarters. Young guy, he was one of Sayaka's friends. He actually went there too, but quit halfway through because he thought it was crazy. He just wasn't mentally prepared to sacrifice himself to the training, because that's what we're talking about, folks. To really commit to that style, that style of training is something totally different than what we're doing here. If you see how we do Misogi nowadays, that's kind of Misogi light compared to what they used to do when Curtis Sensei started training. It was 1 hour of yelling, nonstop. It was just completely night and day difference. But even now, that's so much more refined. you'd be surprised how much it can help you with your training. It's and exactly what Toy Sensei says. It's breath mind training, and it's finding that calmness in the violence of the situation, because it's a they would say this is a very violent act, hitting the bell as hard as you can and screaming at the top of your lungs. And now we don't scream so much at the top of our lungs, but you get the point of what they mean. So, some of you probably have had Misogi experiences. Maybe some of you haven't, and you could ask us more about it. But I'd like to open it up and see, what you all, think about this chapter in particular. Have you had any experience with Misogi? And if you have, what has it been? Um, Maybe I'll ask you first, Gloria, since
Thank you, Sensei. Good evening, everyone, or good morning for some people. Um, I read the chapters the first time I have read it through in this particular version, and I was interested to see that there actually is a way to tell when he's going to change speeds, and I had not been aware of that before. That he emphasizes the kami uh, uh, before he's going to change speeds or the Tohokami. I forgot if it's the whole thing, but uh, so, so now at least if I pay attention, I won't be caught unaware and and do a little extra bell ringing, which I have done. When he is changing speeds or changing the speed of the words. Uh, so the first time doing it, didn't have a lot of explanation. So my arm was a little more tired than it was when I learned to do it, as you said, really using the mind, body, and the breath uh, all together. And then it becomes more of a spiritual experience and less physical.
sure. Yeah, you talk about the changing, as Curtis Sensei's uh, has asked myself and a few other people at the Maui Dojo to actually, before the pandemic, we were taking turns leading the Misogi. Curtis Sensei um, wouldn't, he'd sit in the back of us and watch us as we led the group. And it is the, it, let me tell you, it's hard to lead the group. It's not easy to lead the group because I'm pretty competent in my hitting and chanting. And I remember the first time he asked me to do it, and I said, "Oh yeah, no problem." And then Sensei, it was so funny. Sensei's in the office, goes, "But don't you want me to?" I got it, Sensei, no problem. Because I was really confident, because I was kind of I practice myself, on my own. I practice, so I actually didn't do too bad a job the first time. Probably not the best, because the second time I was a little even more confident. Well, I did it the first time, no problem. It was pretty good leading those transitions. It's not only on the emphasis, but you also raise your bell higher and really look at everybody to get them in the zone to connect with you. And the second time, it was not so good. I didn't do a very good job at all. It was second time I was asked to leave, was not very good. The transition was just a little bit, you know, you get the whole people are going up and you're going down, and it gets a little, discombobulated there. That was my description of the second time I did it. First time was okay. I would I would say that was beginner's luck. I had a little bit of the first time, and I was very confident. So when you are confident, and that's the thing, when you are confident, your key extends naturally really well. But if you're overconfident, then you're not extending key at all. And that's kind of what happened to me. So it's challenging, and yeah, it's really good to read through the chapter to see those little details that you picked out there. It's really good. So you seem to be smiling, Lillian. I figure I might as well ask, you've probably had some experiences.
Aloha, everybody. Um, I've never led the meditation or the misogi. I don't know that I would be able to. Um, Everybody, when they're up there, especially Curtis Sensei, makes it look so easy. And the chances usually are in life, if somebody makes something look easy, it's not. And when I first started doing Shokushin no Gyo, was with Hilo, when me and George Dochin used to go in and practice working towards our black belt. And they would do it every once in a while. And then, of course, we did it in Japan. And then once I started going to the off-island seminars with the HKF seminars, um, I really looked forward to it because my dojo is so small, and we're right in the middle of a little area where I don't think people would appreciate us ringing bells anyway, even if there were enough people to do it. But the interesting thing for me really was that, of course, when you first start, everybody tells you, don't move, don't try to readjust. And of course, you always do. But I have found in the years that you really start to welcome the pain because it's just part of the whole experience. And it just goes and comes with the bell. And you forget that it's actually pain and it's just part of the experience. And I think the hardest part for me was when I didn't do it Seiza so much anymore because on and off with, being older, sometimes I mostly do it in chair now. And I thought it would be different. And that really worried me. And I realized that once I just let go of even thinking about the chair, the experience was just every bit that it should have been, as if I was kneeling down Seiza on a Seiza bench or just sitting Seiza itself. So I really look forward to when we do this in the mornings in the seminar because it's really my only chances to get to do it. And that you live for that moment too when everybody there's those moments when everybody's in like perfect, you feel like everybody's one giant bell. It doesn't always last very long, but it's just amazing. So I was smiling because I do love the experience, and I look forward to when we can all do it again, and even maybe even seeing you up there. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I know. I really like um, the seminar experience too when we get the whole group going. Lately when we've been going to the little Kahi dojo and doing it there, and you get, I remember one year we had, I think, over 50 people, doing it, and that was really, really fun. And yeah, it's a totally, totally different experience when you get a big group all moving together like that. It's really, really interesting and a lot of fun for sure. Yeah. So I know, I think what one of the first times uh, I came to Maui, and it was when Nonaka Sensei and Suzuki Sensei were there, and they didn't sit off to the side. So Curtis Sensei was leading, and we had two people doing the Kagura, and Suzuki Sensei and Nonaka Sensei walked down the aisles, hitting a bell and yelling with us. And that was like one of the most memorable experience of it. I love that. I wish, I kind of wish that was like they do that all the time at the seminars and get the senior people, you know, like Nonaka Sensei, what have you, to walk up and down the aisles. That was so motivating and so much fun. And to have, Suzuki Sensei and Nonaka Sensei, do that, really, really was inspiring. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I don't know. Were you there then, Lillian, when we did that at the Maui Dojo? Was it one of the HKF seminars?
Yeah, it was. It was, and I do. So I start smiling again. Yeah, I remember that. That was, you know, um, it was amazing.
Yeah, that was a great time. That was great.
I will say though, I do kind of miss sometimes, like when we do it in Japan, or that it doesn't go as long as it used to. Now that I really love it so much, I kind of miss the fact that the ringing isn't as intense as it used to be in those days,
Right,
and maybe go for an hour.
right,
But
right.
that's okay. It is what it is.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. So, Jan, I see you over there. Have you had any experience with Misogi?
Hi, Sensei. Hi, everyone. Yes, we used to practice like once a month doing it, but we have a small group, but it's kind of neat to hear when everyone is doing it together. Or if we're not, then Sensei kind of puts his hand down to kind of help us to get back together. But I'm just a beginner. I feel like I'm unsure if I'm holding it or holding the bell correctly, or if I'm doing it correctly. But we used to do it once a month. It would be nice to be in a bigger group and see how that feels.
Right. Right. Yeah, I know it's a great experience to do that. And yeah, I think that it was a few years ago. It was quite a few years ago, but they did a. They were asking. We were at the headquarters, and they had done a little bit of misogi, and they had asked. They said, "Oh, how many people? How many dojos here do misogi regularly?" And everyone kind of, a few people kind of raised their hand. They, oh, really? How often do you do it? And one dojo, they said, oh, we do it once a year. And they were like, that's regularly. What the definition of regularly means like once a week. That would say that's regularly, and that's kind of what we were doing on Maui. We do it once a week. Every Sunday morning it'd be misogi practice, then they do weapons practice, Boken or Joe, and so not being able to do it for so long, it's yeah, I get that. It's we had a small practice with Curtis Sensei at the dojo. There was 5 of us that went, and we did some Boken training, but we also got to hit the bell. And that was one thing, when I first came here and trained with Suzuki Sensei on Tuesday mornings, which is me and a couple other people, uh, Sally Worcester and Melly and another lady, we would be there together. And that's one thing Suzuki Sensei always did. He always go, oh, let's hit the bell. And he'd watch us all hit the bell. And it was good fun. It was just a really good experience to get that, transition of, okay, this is how you hold the bell, this is how you hit the bell, and you're getting one-on-one instruction. And that's kind of what we had this a few Saturdays ago with Curtis Sensei. Get that one-on-one instruction on how to hit the bell, because you really need that to really know how to grip the bell, how to swing the bell, so you're not, as they say, selling fish or ringing the Santa Claus bell, that they do. So yeah, that's one of those things. That's always good. So let me ask Fincher. He popped in here. Fincher, we're talking about Bell Misogi. Any good Bell Misogi stories you got?
Oh, good evening, Sensei. Good evening, good morning, everyone else. Um, not any specific. I think, as I recall, um, sort of the most impact I think I've had were on the larger groups. I loved it when I was able to practice in the Netherlands and in Germany uh, one year. That we had a real big. It was at the seminar over there and had a really big group and people that you don't normally uh, do misogi with. And I guess it kind of went along with the enjoyment of training with people you don't normally train with. But ringing the bell when you have a lot of people there that are yelling and ringing and the fun of it was I don't think the majority of people cared how they swung it. they just they were just really into it. And I think I sort of recognize that as being the fun of it once, because it's really an exercise that you, even myself, I find myself really watching me, how I'm doing, and how I'm doing as compared to other people. But if you get lost in it, no matter what, I mean, just like the arts, really, or cutting or anything, it is so close as we're taught. But if you just are having fun and really just getting into the rhythm, kind of losing yourself as far as observing how well you're doing or how poorly you're doing, I think that's the experience that is memorable to me in those times where I've been able to join people that were just doing that, just as a group, just being part of the group and not being one watching yourself. And yeah, I guess that would be kind of like my comment.
Yeah.
But oh, one more comment I'd say that yeah, as you said, the one-on-one instruction is really good. But the funny thing is, it's still a dichotomy because they're telling you how to ring the bell, and then you're trying to do it that way until until you can just kind of do your best and let go of doing it exactly right. But the instruction kind of takes me back to trying to do it right, and then I have to go through that whole process of letting that go again. But it's enjoyable. It's really fun. Um, and I agree with everyone that says, especially when you get with a big group.
Yeah, we had a good one. You know, I was with you in the Netherlands in 2006 when we had that big group in Helmand. But then also in 2014, I think it was, when we were in Spain together, and we
Oh,
had that Misogi in Spain, and that was really good. And I remember that one in particular. That was a really good Misogi we had in Spain. So, one of the things that it's really good to do if you're not familiar with Misogi, of course, and that is to find out who among the people are more experienced and try to either sit next to them or behind them and kind of so you can hear them. You can hear them chant. You can watch them hit the bell if they're in front of you, and as well as look at the kagura and the osa. Really model what they're doing. The more senior people, like if you're in the back rows, sometimes you can't see the kagura or the osa in a big group, but you can put yourself next to somebody who's more senior and kind of model off them to get the rhythm down. And that's so important, is to as you know is to let go of what you think you ought to be doing and just immerse yourself with the group. And that's, I think, a point that's well taken, that Fincher discussed there. And that's super super important, is to release that try to do it right, or I need to do this. Of course, they'll always give you the same pointers. You need to let go more. Relax. You'll always get those comments. You just have to put it into action. So yeah, thank you very much, Fincher. Vitaly, do you have much experience?
Hello, Sensei. Hello, everyone. I have not big experience in Misogi. We do it maybe 4 times a year, not more. It's very seldom. The reason is our dojo is not a separate building, and the so noisy practice isn't good for our neighbors.
Right.
So as we do it very seldom, I have a lot of problems with Misogi. Problems. It's not easy. Problems with Seiza. Problems with a lot of things should be on under control. Absence of tension, rhythm, sitting in balance, and so on and so on and so on. It's not easy
No.
practice for me, but it is very interesting, and I love this practice. I have a lot of time to be ready to it. Then our sensei tell us next week we had Misogi. All the week is I get ready. I try to get ready to it.
Yeah.
Um, but it's very. That's my comment. It's
So can I ask you a question? How long do you do Misogi at your dojo?
2 years.
No, I mean, how long when you do one session? How long?
Oh, oh, oh. I guess 20 minutes.
40 minutes?
20, 20,
Oh, well, 20 minutes. Okay,
20.
interesting. Yeah, there was Curtis Sensei was telling a story. He's told it before, you may have heard it, but I find it very interesting because he was in San Francisco and Suzuki Sensei was teaching a big seminar there, 200 people, I don't know, quite a big seminar, like a humongous seminar where lots of people came, Key Society, Aikigai people. It was just big. And they did Misogi. And this is back in the day when they did an hour of yelling. So it was like a 2 hour deal, 30 minutes of breathing, then 30 minutes, then an hour of yelling and 30 minutes of meditation type thing. And they're in the midst of the hitting the bell, and Curtis Sensei is the Kagura, of course, Suzuki Sensei Osa, and he's making eye contact with somebody in the group, and the guy's really looking at him, giving him this really super intense look, and the whole time hitting the bell, he's just like, wow, he looks like he's in pain, but I'm gonna help him. I'm gonna, Curtis Sensei's really extending positive ki towards him, and the whole thing. And then of course it ends, and the guy came up to him afterwards. He was like, wow, thank you so much, Sensei. You got me through that. I really had to go to the bathroom during this whole thing. It was one of those stories that was just priceless. I know I'm not telling it completely right, but it was just the whole thing of, could you imagine being in a 2 hour Misogi and having to go to the restroom? It would be miserable. I mean, you'd really have to extend ki to get through it, but I found that very. It was just classic. It was just a classic story of the old style, what they used to do back in the day, and that style's dead now. It's dead. I mean, when that kind of stuff, died with Suzuki Sensei. I mean, we don't do that anymore. It's changed immensely, and the reason it's changed, it's actually changed for the better. And we tend to not think that way. We tend to want to keep have this attachment to the past of the glory days of, oh, it was so much better back then. And you might even hear me tell these stories and go, gosh, I wish I could have had that experience. And I used to do the same thing. I used to go, gosh, I wish I could have had that experience with that Curtis Sensei experience or Suzuki Sensei experience. And guess what, folks? Those are dead memories. You're never coming back. You got to have your own experience. And trust me, it will be better. The best is yet to come, as they say. What's happened in the past is just, it's old news. It's just not something to get, you know, cling on to. I mean, they're good to hear, funny, motivation. You can use it to motivate yourself and go, give that good experience, but we don't want to get too stuck on that. So, John, you seem to be smiling about that. What do you think of this, Misogi? Do you have any good Misogi stories here from Maui?
Unfortunately, like Sundays, I have the temple services, so usually I can't make it to Misogi. But when I can, I do enjoy it. I do enjoy when there's a lot more people, especially during the seminars. We get to do it with a group, and yeah, the energy. There's just something to say about having a group of people just focused um, with the same chant, with the same rhythm. It's just so powerful. Like even when I was training in Japan as to become a minister, we had these 50 aspiring Buddhist uh, monks chanting, and it's this like we're in this um, temple hall, and the lights are all out, and there's just a candlelight that just is shown, and we're all chanting same, and there's just a rhythm, there's just this energy that's just flowing. And there's something to be said about that. I think it happens in like concerts too, where everybody's just like I think there's just something to say about a group of people doing the same thing with the same energy. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Those experiences. Yeah, they're good. Yeah, I agree. And see, the thing of it is, it's right quite interesting. So in Maui, the first class of the year we do Misogi, and the last class of the year we do Misogi during the day, and it's on a Wednesday usually. Usually the first day of class usually starts on a Wednesday, and the last class is usually on a Wednesday. So, and it's in the evening, not in the morning. So we're doing Misogi in the evening, and a lot of people who don't go to Sunday, they come in and they look around and go, "What's going on? Oh, it's the last class of the year." Oh, and you could just say that they're just like, shoots, I came. I didn't want to be. I didn't want to do Misogi. And there are people who don't want to do Misogi and they don't like it. So they avoid coming to Sunday, or they'll come late and they'll go to weapons class but never come to Misogi class. And then when you see them pull up on a Wednesday when it's the first class, the last class of the year, because that's one of the things Suzuki Sensei was really big on. The two most important classes in the year, the first and the last one. Those are the two most important classes. Those are the classes you don't miss. You always make the first class, and you always make the last class, of the year. So that's one of those things that he would emphasize, and you'd get the people who come in on the first or last class and go, Misogi, really? How do we do that again? And just because they don't do it regularly, that they're not into the groove of it, and that's one of those things. Most people love it, and they really enjoy the practice, but then you'll get a few that hasn't set into them yet. So that's just something they need to look forward to. So Ilaria, you're right next to John there. Have you had any interesting Misogi experiences?
Hi, Sensei. Hello, everyone. I've only done Misogi a handful of times with seminars in Hawaii and twice with Susan Grigsby Sensei because her dojo does it for the winter omiki. And it's cool because we meet early. I've done it twice with them, and we meet early in the morning and we do water Misogi because we actually have winter here and we go into the freezing lake. Um, but yeah, I was just reading this chapter and remembering how awesome Sokushin no Gyo is. Um, as far as hitting the bell, I remember Curtis Sensei. I would love to have one-on-one instruction at some point because I don't think I have. But I remember Curtis Sensei doing like kind of a group at a seminar, like a group brief like instruction on how to hit the bell and everything. And it just seems like learning how to hit the bell correctly is just as deep and difficult as learning how to cut boken or really do anything in aikido. But like Fincher Sensei was saying, it's true that I just kind of try to let go of that and connect with what's going on with the group and everyone else, and just like give it my all and my conviction rather than trying to do it perfectly the whole time because that won't work. And everyone always says that you're doing it wrong if your arm is sore afterwards. So there's that too.
Yes, your arm is sore afterwards. Yes, I think we've all had sore arms in the past from not hitting it quite correctly. Yeah, it's challenging to be able to relax because you don't really trust. You feel like you really have to use your physical power to get that sound. Because I tell you, I've got videotapes of Suzuki Sensei hitting the bell, and I go back and I watch him hit the bell, and I'm just like, wow. And he was one of those guys. You want to hit my bell? See if it sounds any different. Like no, because it sounds so different when he did it than when I do it, and I find that now to be the case with Curtis Sensei, of course, hitting the bell, because you may not realize this, but I do. The way Curtis Sensei hits the bell now is very different than when I first met him. How he hit the bell, very different. Very different. He's much more relaxed than before. And he was really relaxed before, but it's just the subtleties that has transitioned throughout the time. And that I think is really interesting to see that change manifest not only in techniques or not only in weapons practice, but when you just doing hitting the bell. There's just you and that bell. You have to be one with those little ball bearings in there. So they all hit one time. So yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, and you guys do it once a year in the beginning class, you said?
Yeah, once a year, first class of the year.
Yeah. Nice, nice. So, Kaomi, you're right next. Have you had any experience with Misogi?
Hi, Sensei. Hi, everybody. Oh, no, Sensei, never. I don't even, I'm trying to picture what the bell looks like and how people do it.
Oh, there's a
So,
picture of it in the manual, I believe. There's a picture of Suzuki Sensei doing it, I believe. Yeah. It's actually it's a picture of the group all lined up. And they did have a picture of the bell. Oh yeah, the picture of the bell right there. That's a
oh,
picture of the bell, what it looks like.
so
And
each person has that bell.
yes.
I read about Misogi in Tohei Sensei's book, and I thought that was a very intense and scary practice. So I didn't think people are doing it. So I'm very interested in listening everybody's experience. Very, I would like to see it. So I'm not sure if I'm ready to practice, but I'm interested.
Well, it's actually really boring to watch, but if you're in it, really fun. I would say don't watch, just get in there and
Just
yeah, just one time, just get in there and do it.
usually, like, how long? It's like 40 minutes.
Um, so it's been modified.
Hmm.
On Maui, for a long, long time, it was 1 hour. But now it's been modified. It was 20, 20, 20. So 20 minutes of key breathing, 20 minutes of chanting and hitting the bell, and then 20 minutes of meditation. And then on some occasions, like at seminars, they do 15, 15, 15 for a total of 45 minutes.
I
So
see.
much
And
easier.
and on Cesar
Yes.
or
Yeah,
okay.
most everybody sits out. There are people who sit in chairs, of course, that's allowed here. And most people have Seiza benches.
I see.
There's only a few people that sit Seiza the whole time.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're
It's
welcome.
yes.
Yeah, it's so interesting, when I first started Aikido, I was in Arizona and we didn't have we wanted, me and a few people wanted to have our own personal Misogi bell, right? So we contacted the only person that made the bells back then, and that was Ed Grover Sensei. And we called him up and said, "Hey, Grover Sensei, will you make us some Misogi bells?" And he said, "Oh yeah. Do you want headquarters style or Maui style?" And we went, "We want the Maui style," thinking that we would get the kind that are really cool looking, that are kind of really bulged out on the bottom and top and really skinny in the middle because of all the hitting they've gone through. The metal was so cheap that it deformed the bells. So we get the bells in the mail and we went, "Hey, these aren't Maui style bells. These are like headquarters style bells." So we call them up and go, Grover Sensei, I think you sent us the wrong bell. You sent us the headquarters bell, not the Maui bell." And he went, "No, I sent you the Maui bell." He goes, "Measure it." And we measure it and we gave it, "Oh, yep, that's a Maui bell." "Well, how come it doesn't look like a Maui bell? It's not bulged out on the top and bottom." And he laughed at us. He went, "Oh," he goes, "That's from all the hitting you have to do, my friend. You better get busy." Because they're straight. The new ones are all straight. If you look on our cabinet, there's like the really proportioned, even bells. And the difference between a headquarter bell and a Maui bell was how tall they were. The longer bell was a headquarter bell, and the shorter style bell was was a Maui bell. So that was the difference, not the bulging at the top and bottom, which was what we thought back in the day. We were like, wait a minute, this can't be right. These bells are not deformed like the ones on Maui. Yeah, that was my first experience with the bells. So, Phoenix, you're right there. Hello. How are you tonight? And any
Uh,
interesting?
yeah, this is a great discussion. My main experience is at the when we have seminars at Lokahi. Occasionally do it elsewise. And I think so. It's really ends up being once a year or something like that, and it generally sets off certain anxiety when it's time. So I really use the sitting to start with to try to get in that space. But mostly, I think Boyer Sensei always encouraged me to sit either in the front row or right in the center in the second row, and I would choose to sit next to someone that I knew was very experienced. Um, and in the first part, it was always kind of tense, and it's because I'm trying to figure it out. But more often than not, when I've done it, the time comes when it's just like the whole room is moving. It's just all like this experience of ki flowing everywhere. And various, and then if I notice it, then I might fall away for a second. But generally, it really is quite amazing. We did it once at Gloria's house out in the country, just a few of us, and that was quite a wonderful experience as well. So
Right.
I find it challenging, but I also think it's really wonderful. And I between the weapons and the misogi, it'd be fun to come to Maui sometime. So anyway,
Yeah, good. Thank you for sharing. That's really good. Lori didn't tell us about her little experiment out there in the country.
Yeah, I forgot about that. But we have the smallest property out here is an acre, and so there's room between the houses. And I simply tell my neighbor we're going to do that, and she doesn't get upset, so it's fine.
Nice, nice. So Sasaki Sensei, you're there. We're talking about Bell Misogi. Any good discussion?
Well, I used to go to Camp Hakuloa and do the misogi there in slightly rarefied air. um, Nonaka Sensei Senior, Suzuki Sensei, they're all there. And there were like 60 of us, and that's when it was still an hour. And the first time I got there, we were driven by this bus, and it was really dark when we got there. So they said, well, the next morning is Misogi, so you can bring something to sit on and whatnot. And we all got up really early and we started walking. And after about 15 minutes, we realized, I think we're the wrong way. So we had to turn around, and we made it in time, and we sat through the whole thing, and we did Musogi, and good old Nonaka Sensei used to do a syncopated chant, and Suzuki Sensei would come around, and one time he just came up at me, and he was yelling at me, louder, Sasaki, I don't hear you, damn it, louder, louder. So I kept on going, and finally, after about a minute or so of yelling, I looked up and I went, and so he went, so he moved on to the next row, and he started yelling at this other girl, and she was so scared, Tracy. Her bell went flying out of her hand. And I've never seen Suzuki Sensei jump 2 feet up in the air in standing position. And it just missed him, you know. And it was really good because, there was a whole bunch of people from various dojos. Other than that, we tried doing misogi at Central YMCA, but we got the cops called on us twice. So most of us would just look forward to going to Pohakuloa and then just yelling and screaming. But I'll tell you one thing. One morning, my friend, do you remember Susan Welch?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. We decided to cut out of Misogi and walk around the property in the morning. And we must have been like a football field away.
and we could hear people doing Misogi, and everything was mom, 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 except for one voice, one single voice, and you could hear him going, Tiger! Guess who it was? We're just
Sure.
amazed, and we thought, that's Suzuki Sensei, And that was before it was really either I was a first black belt or before I was a black belt. So we snuck back in, and I thought, well, nobody would, notice that I had been missing. There were 60 people, and I'm standing in line because we're going to have breakfast. I'm holding my tray, and from the back of the room, I hear Suzuki Sensei yell, "Suzuki, where the hell were you?" And I thought, oh God. And he was on me every time after that. But it
Well,
was great.
if you weren't there, you were missed. I'm sure of it.
But it's just incredible voice. It was very distinct from that far out. You could really identify it immediately.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. Thank you. So, Jeremy, you're here. You're not late, but you're on time. And you're right there.
Hi, Sensei. Good evening. So, I do have a memory of being at the world camp there, the headquarters in Japan, and Curtis Sensei was called upon to teach the Misogi, and he was going for all different students and saying, okay, we need a little more practice, And of course, he came to me, and he was like, just shook his head, like, we'll talk later, But yeah, but from there to now, I definitely got a little more practice, but it's something that I struggle. Not so much. I don't tend to get tired, but it's maybe somehow in the rhythm and hit the proper way. It's still something that I've been working, even though I had a little experience that I went to quite a few of the Sunday mornings. But I feel like it takes maybe 10,000 more times, for me to get a little more the hang of it. But a little unstable here. But it's definitely something I enjoy very much, being at the Sunday mornings in Maui. I think we're very blessed and to be in Maui with Curtis Sensei.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good experience. Yeah, probably at World Camp when he probably said talk later, it was like, Jeremy, you're from Maui. You should know how to do this already. Probably.
Exactly.
You're representing the dojo there. Come on, folks.
Exactly.
I know. I've had that talk before too. So let's see here. Murta, do you have any Misogi experience?
Good evening, good morning, everyone. I think I joined twice or maybe 3 times at a seminar. It was a very interesting experience. I can imagine if you do that for a long time and you really give it your all, that it can be a kind of a trance experience. But yeah, it was too little practice to actually know what it's about. But at least I have a picture of what it looks like, so I can follow your discussion. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, some of the best, the way they do it here on Maui, of course, you do key breathing, then you hit the bell and chant, and then afterwards you do meditation, and then at one point, at the very end, he'll do a little key breathing for the last 5 minutes or so, and then Sensei will do Norito. And the meditation, I think, after hitting the bell is probably some of the best meditation I've had in that such a short period of time. Because you're already, your energy, you have no tension. If you've been hitting the bell properly, you have no tension. you really can drop into meditation really, really well. And I know uh, that's how I can tell if I've had a really good misogi or not. It's like the meditation afterwards and being in that zone for key breathing. And then to hear, of course, Curtis Sensei chant Narito afterwards, it's just one of those experiences that just kind of sets the tone, for the rest of the day and how the seminar will go, how the weapons, because usually we do weapons right afterwards, and how that all goes. And you'd be surprised on how your mind, with it moving around and not being in the moment, just like thinking here and there, and I got to do this, I got to do that, and having that busy mind really, has to be completely washed away in Misogi. And it usually gets that way by the time when you start hitting the bell and chanting, all that extra voices in your head seem to be quiet. They are quiet, and you can actually sit and go, oh wow, this is what meditation is supposed to be like when I'm in the zone here. I mean, that's the kind of experience that I tend to come out of when I'm having a really good experience with it. I don't know if Charlotte would like to say anything about it or not. I know she's on, but her video is not on. So, oh, there she is. Any experience with Misogi there, Charlotte?
I just thought it's too long ago. too long time I didn't get the chance to do it. In the Netherlands, we used to do it once a month, but I don't always get the chance to be there. The seminars, of course, we do it, and yes, it's great. It really helps to let go. You have to be in it to feel, get the experience. You can't tell how it is. That's what I notice. It, it has no use to talk about it. You have to do it, and to experience and to see what it does with you. So
Sure.
it changes also with the time. From the first time you do it, and then maybe after 20 or some years, where you do get a chance to do it more often, then it changes. Yes.
Yeah, good, good. Yeah, you're right. These talks that we have on Zoom, of course, they're being informative, but also I like to look at it as a way to inspire, try to to inspire you to train in some fashion, one way or the other. We're looking, I think that's more what Curtis Sensei is looking at as well, is cultivating that inspirations, because you are your own teacher. I mean, so to speak, you have the ability to be training on your own time, whether it be breathing practice, meditation practice, cutting or Joe or anything like that, you can do on your own. All that self practice. Hattori Waza, you can do Hattori Waza, you can do Oneness Rhythm Taiso every day. And those kinds of experiences, that's pretty much all we got in this pandemic situation. Hopefully it'll change next year, but we just don't know. Hopefully it will, and we'll be able to move into the dojo and train and have a seminar. I know Curtis Sensei's can't wait to go to Europe, and I know Fincher and I are planning to try to go to Europe when we can, because we were supposed to go last year. We wanted to go and visit the folks in Europe and train with them. And we definitely want to go again for sure. So, and I know Curtis Sensei is, and for that matter, now that you guys have all interacted in the Zoom sessions with the Europeans, I'm telling you, they're really good hosts, and they would be ecstatic to have you guys join a seminar. There's no reason Ilaria can't go to a seminar in Europe, someday soon. No reason. You're only holding yourself back. And Guillermo as well. Guillermo's like, I'm gonna go. I'll be there, right? So yeah, it's just a matter of inspiring, gaining the inspiration from these classes and making the connection so that you can have that experience in Europe, because having the experience in Europe is like, coming to Maui times it by 10. And because the thing of it is, and this is what people don't realize, is when you take yourself out of where you're normally training. Like I normally train on Maui now, so it's my normal training space. But before I trained on Maui, it was an adventure to come to Maui and train and exotic and amazing. And that's what kind of Europe and the mainland is to me now, because I don't train on the mainland or Europe as much. And when I go there, you're out of your element. You're out of your milieu of what you normally do. And you're like, eyes are opened, like, oh, we're visiting this area and we're training in this area and we're eating with these, and you're learning a new culture and they're speaking a foreign language, and it's just really it's a great time. And that goes to show that you guys like Myrta and Charlotte come to Maui and train with us. We'd love to have you guys. It would be a hoot. Let me tell you, we'd have a good time. I guarantee it would change your life. Guaranteed. But anyway, we're out of time. I've talked enough, but I do have a short little Nazardine story I found quite amusing this afternoon. I found it. It says Nazardine was sent by the king to investigate the lore of various kinds of Eastern mystical teachers. They all recounted to him tales of miracles and the sayings of the founders and great teachers, all long dead. When he returned home, he submitted his report, which contained the single word carrots. He was called by the king to explain himself. Nazardine told him, Your Highness, the best part is buried. Few know except the farmer by the green that there is orange underground. If you don't work for it, it will wither away and rot. And there are a great many donkeys associated with it. With that, I'll leave you and see you next week. And domo arigato gozaimashita. I'll see you Wednesday if you are so inclined, and have a good evening. Thanks a lot.